It's 10 o'clock. This is Sky News at 10, our top story. The King's brother, Andrew, is to leave his Windsor home as the monarch begins the process to remove all of his titles. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, as he'll now be known, has been served notice to leave Royal Lodge and will move to a property on the Sandringham estate in Norfolk. Buckingham Palace says this latest decision was made following a consultation with the government. Also tonight. More casualties expected. A warning from Jamaican officials in the wake of Hurricane Melissa as a massive aid operation begins.
The roads are almost completely taken out here by rivers, by trees, by other debris.
Rachel Reeves' rental row. The Chancellor's estate agent apologises for an oversight in failing to apply for a licence on her behalf. President Trump hails an amazing meeting with his Chinese counterpart as a 12 out of 10, with a promise of a cut in tariffs.
Are you making this up as you go along?
Making what up?
Policies on the hoof.
Sky News gains rare access to a Reform UK meeting where the talk is of deportation camps and Sharia law. And we'll take a first look at tomorrow's front pages in our press preview from 10:30 right through to midnight. Good evening. Welcome to the programme. He was once a global ambassador for Britain and a decorated war hero. But tonight, it seems Andrew's fall from grace is complete. Buckingham Palace has announced that the King has decided to strip his brother of his Prince title and he will have to move out of his home at Royal Lodge in Windsor. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, as he'll now be known, will move to a property on the Sandringham estate in Norfolk, which will be privately funded by the King. He'd been facing increasing scrutiny over sexual abuse allegations and his relationship with the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Tonight, the family of Andrew's main accuser, Virginia Giuffre, said she'd brought down a British prince with her truth and extraordinary courage. Our royal correspondent, Laura Bundock, reports.
His fall from grace is finally complete, stripped of everything, from his titles to his home. It is a remarkable and radical royal downfall. As of now, the brother of the King no longer a prince. In a statement, Buckingham Palace announced His Majesty has today initiated a formal process to remove the style, titles and honours of Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew will now be known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. His lease on Royal Lodge has to date provided him with legal protection to continue in residence. Formal notice has now been served to surrender the lease and he will move to alternative private accommodation. These censures are deemed necessary, notwithstanding the fact that he continues to deny the allegations against him. Their Majesties wish to make clear that their thoughts and utmost sympathies have been and will remain with the victims and survivors of any and all forms of abuse. Andrew always denied the allegations, but the repeated accusations wouldn't go away, and his associations risked real reputational damage to the royal family. His friendship with convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, his dealings with an alleged Chinese spy, and then the posthumous publication of his accuser, Victoria Giuffre's memoir. Her family said she brought down a British prince with her truth and extraordinary courage. This piling pressure was starting to overshadow the work of Andrew's wider family. And with the Prince of Wales soon heading to Brazil for his Earthshot Award, enough was enough. We understand the royal family, including Prince William, backed the King's leadership on this matter. The King made the decisions, his family supported them.
I'm sure that however much a brother wants to look after a brother as a brother, it is quite clear that in the business of kingship, more needed to be done. And the King has now acted, and this is literally an expunging.
Andrew will soon leave Royal Lodge, his large home on the Windsor estate. His ex-wife, who also lived here, Sarah Ferguson, will make her own arrangements. It was their family home for many years. Both daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, who grew up here, will keep their titles. This will not have been easy for the king, but he simply could not ignore public opinion. The criticism and anger directed at Andrew was never going to stop, and only he, the king, had the power to take the ultimate action against his own brother. As for Andrew, he'll soon move to Sandringham, the king's private Norfolk estate, where the family traditionally gather for Christmas. He'll now be funded privately by the king. This is all a formal process carried out in consultation with official authorities, but the government supports the decision taken. For years, Andrew enjoyed the perks and privileges of his powerful position, but his birthright could not withstand withering public disdain, and now he's paid the ultimate price.
And Laura is at Buckingham Palace for us tonight. Laura, totally significant, this move by the king, but just how unprecedented is it?
Oh, it's totally unprecedented. This really is a very significant and very decisive moment, I think, as well. It was less than a fortnight ago that Andrew very publicly announced that he would relinquish the use of his Duke of York title, but he would remain at Royal Lodge. It is clear if he thought that meant the matter went away, he was very, very wrong. There was outrage that although he wasn't going to be using that title, he still held it. And so we now have this situation where the king, his own brother, was forced to do more, forced to start this very formal process of officially removing those titles. Now, as for Royal Lodge, it became clear it would be untenable for Andrew to stay in such a royal residence, so in the heart of the Windsor estate. There had been rumours flying around, hadn't there, that Andrew wanted to relocate perhaps to Frogmore Cottage, Meghan and Harry's old home in Windsor, that Sarah Ferguson, his ex-wife, could move to Adelaide Cottage, where the Prince and Princess of Wales have been living. But it's clear the optics of that was simply unacceptable. I think what is very striking tonight is not just the victorious statement coming from the family of Andrew's accuser, Virginia Giuffre, but the words written at the very end of the Buckingham Palace statement saying how the King and Queen have always supported and sympathised with the victims of abuse. As for Andrew, well, he is starting a new life in Norfolk on the Sandringham estate, in effect in exile in Norfolk. I think he will have to accept now life is going to be incredibly different for him. No longer a prince, just an ordinary man. And certainly the royal family will be hoping that this draws to an end a very sorry and damaging chapter in the history of the House of Windsor.
Laura, thank you. Well, the UK government was also consulted in the process and has deemed the move both constitutionally proper and appropriate. Let's bring in our chief political correspondent, John Craig, who's in Downing Street for us tonight. And John, we had previously thought that this would have to go through Parliament first before the titles could be officially withdrawn, but not the case.
That's what the palace wants. Yes, they want it more low-key. They don't want a great long debate in Parliament. Normally, you would expect an Act of Parliament to have to be passed, but the Prime Minister spoke to the King at his weekly audience. That was on Tuesday. They will have discussed the arrangements at that. There's no public comments yet from the Prime Minister, which is rather odd, given the big key role that John Major played when Charles and Diana separated, and then that Tony Blair played when after the death of Diana. But we have had in the last few minutes the first reaction from the government. Lisa Nandy, the Culture Secretary, has said in the last few minutes that she warmly welcomes what the King is proposing. She says it's a huge development, a big step for the King to take. She said, I really support the step he's taken. She says it's a very powerful message to the victims of grooming and sex offences. She talks about how she used to work with children who'd been abused before she was an MP, and including some of the girls horrifically abused by grooming gangs. She said, this is Lisa Nandy, I read some of the testimony from some of the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, not just at the time but recently, with news stories that have come to light. And she says, given the new information that we have, I think this is a really brave, important and right step by the King, and I fully support it. A reaction from opposition politicians, been led by Kemi Badenoch, who said that the King has clearly felt this is the right decision for the royal family. And she talks about how the Jeffrey Epstein saga shows that everybody, all those people touched, like Prince Andrew, Peter Mandelson, shows the public has no truck whatsoever with any kind of sexual abuse. From Sir Ed Davey, the Lib Dem leader, also praised the King's absolutely right. Backing too from Stephen Flynn of the Scottish National Party. From the left in Parliament, well, a dissenting note. Zara Sultana said it's a good start. Now let's abolish the monarchy. That is very much a minority view.
John, thank you. Well, we can speak now to our royal commentator, Alistair Bruce. And Alistair, why do you think the King has decided to act now? And what will the effect be on the order of succession?
Well, first of all, I don't think the King had much of a choice. It was clear that his attempt to draw a line under this nearly 2 weeks ago did not work. It did not meet the test that the British public are entitled to make. And Parliament was clearly unsettled by the situation and wanted more done. And so the King has acted now. I think in terms of the order of succession, nothing changes. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor remains there, but that's because by statute, the order of succession exists. But I think we should never forget that Parliament is sovereign and has been since 1689. And in a way, the order of succession exists to delineate who would come next, but it's up to Parliament to decide whether Parliament wants that person to inherit. So I think whether Andrew Mountbatten Windsor stays on the order of succession or not, it's highly unlikely. In fact, it would never happen that he would be allowed to succeed.
Alistair, thank you. Officials in Jamaica say they expect the number of dead is likely to rise as a result of Hurricane Melissa. As a massive aid operation begins, the Foreign Office said it will airlift stranded British nationals out of the disaster zone. Tuesday's hurricane wreaked havoc across the Caribbean. The eye of the storm made landfall on the southwest coast of the island, 75 miles from the capital, Kingston. Our correspondent Martha Kellner reports now from St Elizabeth in Jamaica.
This is the place they're calling Ground Zero for Hurricane Melissa. The town of Black River, which, as the name suggests, is known for its dark water. Murky water, which is now washed all over what remains. The wind took care of the rest. It's now almost cut off from the rest of the island, as my team and I discover. This is the challenge that people have when they're trying to get back to their homes. The roads are almost completely taken out here by rivers, by trees, by other debris. And that's why the emergency services as well are finding it so difficult to get to the worst affected areas. We drive underneath a snarl of fallen power lines, past several towns where children play outside houses which no longer have roofs. The historic St Thomas Anglican Church in Lacovia, with its beautiful stained glass windows now hollowed out. Outside a primary school now being used as a shelter, volunteer Cherie is pleading for help for the people inside.
I've never seen this in my entire life. And it is heartbreaking. I never thought in a million years that I would be in this situation trying to get help. And with little to no communication, we can't reach no officials, no emergency teams. the best help we have received after the hurricane is from security personnel from the Lacovia police station who tried to get us medical assistance, but to date nobody has come because they too are flooded. They have lost their homes, and we're just not sure what to expect from this. But it feels like a total reset to us right now, a total reset. And I'm hoping and praying that help can reach us soon.
Sounds like you're doing your very, very best for these people. You have elderly people inside the shelter, some of them unwell.
Very unwell now, and that's why we need any form of medical assistance now. I know for one of my shelterees she's the oldest. Since the incident, she has been totally out of it.
This was the first flight carrying passengers into Jamaica after the hurricane, departing Miami and carrying dozens of rescue and relief workers. Dr. Alison Thompson has operated in disaster zones for decades.
I've been helping coordinate about 20 teams on WhatsApp, and they're all landing in the next few days. But if we're late, people die. So we try to get in as quick as we can. But it's hard when the whole country's shut down.
Others on board were going in search of family they haven't heard from since the storm, and a warning now that the number of deaths here could sadly rise.
I know there are so many people in Jamaica all over the world that I know your heart is breaking because you've not heard from your families. And so please know that the government is doing everything we can to get to them.
But for some here, that help is not arriving fast enough. How old are you?
And we can speak to Martha now in the town of Lacovia in the county of St Elizabeth in Jamaica. Martha, the Prime Minister has described it as total destruction. What have you seen? What have you experienced there?
Yeah, total destruction is pretty spot on. We drove late this morning, landed in Kingston in the east of the country. That area of the country fairly unscathed, but gradually as you make your way further west, town upon town where there's not a house untouched. The lady that you saw in my report there, Cherie, she was standing at the side of this road with that sign that says help needed at this shelter, and she's not the only one here that is desperate. There've been lots of people driving past, shouting out of their windows saying Jamaica needs help. They want to get the message out that they're not seeing enough assistance from the emergency services, from the authorities here. People saying they need food, water and bedding. You can see here just the destruction that Hurricane Melissa has wrought in Lacovia. Whole houses brought down here. And I think what I've been struck by is just how wide the field of destruction is across the western part of Jamaica. It goes on for miles and miles. Cherie, who was the volunteer who you heard from in the report, she and others have been taking refuge at the Lacovia Primary and Infant School. There's a small building in the back there with the corrugated iron roof, and the conditions inside are desperate. Some people have brought along mattresses that they're using to sleep on. Others are sleeping on wooden chairs or on desks, which would usually be used by school children to write on. People there ranging in age from 14 to 86. One lady has severe diabetes and heart problems. She's got no medication. She says she's desperate for help, and I think that feeling of desperation is just echoed across this town. Later on, we're going to try and get to Black River, which is the town that authorities are calling ground zero for Hurricane Melissa. But I think here they feel like they're pretty much at ground zero too.
Martha, thank you very much for the moment. That massive aid operation continues. The Chancellor spent the day facing calls for her resignation after admitting she failed to get a licence to let her London home. But new correspondence then emerged tonight, relieving pressure on Rachel Reeves as her estate agents apologised for not applying for a licence on her behalf, as they said they would. Our Deputy Political Editor, Sam Coates, reports.
He should do the right thing and sack Nadeem Zahawi.
No room for doubt from Rachel Reeves. If they broke the rules, they should go.
The Prime Minister doesn't even understand the rules that he is imposing on people. Do the right thing and resign.
But now Rachel Reeves is holed up in the Treasury after she confessed she had failed to get the necessary permit for her South London home before renting it out. She had broken the law. A late-night exchange of letters, number 10's attempt to shut this down. Writing to the Prime Minister, the Chancellor confessed this was an inadvertent mistake. As soon as it was brought to my attention, we took immediate action and have applied for the licence. This, enough for Keir Starmer, who replied, I am satisfied that this matter can be drawn to a close following your apology. 24 hours later, another letter to the Prime Minister, this time revealing the letting agents had promised to sort the paperwork. But an apology again too, saying, I am sorry about this matter and accept full responsibility for it. The rules are complicated, but is a lack of knowledge an excuse?
In the end, the question is, should the Chancellor of the Exchequer be focusing on getting the budget right, which is a massive issue for our country, our economy and all communities, or should she be checking that when she pays for a service from a letting agent, that the letting agent has fully fulfilled all the bits of service that they're meant to deliver?
Rachel Reeves is the most important member of Keir Starmer's government, just over 3 weeks out from the budget in which she's going to have to put up taxes. This is the last thing that she needs. Tories had been planning to call for her removal if that budget puts up taxes.
Hands up if you believed Rachel Reeves when she said she wasn't going to put a tax on working people. Yeah, I didn't think so.
But now, a new excuse to want her gone.
This is a housing act that Labour brought in 2004. Rachel Reeves has tweeted about it, saying that she wants it to be extended. It applies in her constituency and here, and yet she hasn't been following the rules. The law says that those who don't follow it are making criminal offence. It's a criminal offence not to follow it. I think that is serious. If she has committed a criminal offence, then there are very serious questions to answer, so we should have an investigation. Keir Starmer said lawmakers shouldn't be lawbreakers. He needs to apply his own rules to his front bench.
Have you ever broken the law?
I don't believe that I have, but if I had done so when I was in government, then I would have been sacked or I would have been forced to resign.
I just want to try again. In 2008, you guessed the password of Harriet Harman. That appeared to be a potential violation of the Computer Misuse Act. Wasn't that you breaking the law?
Well, 20 years ago, yes, it was a summary offence like speeding. Nobody knew about it. I was the one who actually told people that that was something that I did. I came out and said, by the way, I did it on video. This was something I did in my 20s. We're not talking about something that Rachel Reeves did in her 20s. We're talking about something she's doing as Chancellor, after she became Chancellor. It is not the same thing at all.
The letting agent's fault, but the law says she is to blame. The Prime Minister thinks otherwise. He knows the budget means she has bigger problems to worry about. Sam Coates, Sky News, Westminster.
Well, let's take you to live pictures now of Donald Trump and the First Lady Melania, who are giving out... well, they're not actually trick-or-treating because they're at the White House, but this is their effort towards Halloween celebrations, offering treats only to visitors to the White House. Donald Trump only just returning to the White House earlier this evening in upbeat spirits, hailing the conclusion of his trip to Asia, a meeting with China's President Xi Jinping, as amazing, adding he'd score it a 12 out of 10. Having ranked up tensions between the two countries by imposing trade tariffs on China, President Trump now says a trade deal will be signed pretty soon. Here's our Asia correspondent, Helen Ann Smith.
President of the People's Republic of China.
Just a few months ago, this would have felt impossible. Two leaders, two strong men, two very different styles.
But he's a very tough negotiator. That's not good.
A power play, perhaps, but one that didn't seem to land.
We know each other well.
Because this is not a relationship where Trump holds all the power. In a small room, they spoke big politics, how to lower the temperature on a trade war that at its worst ground almost all business to a halt. And there are clear attempts to endear.
I always believe that China's development goes hand in hand with your vision to make America great again.
After they seemed buoyed up by what they'd achieved, Agreements on rare earths, tariffs and the purchase of soybeans. A commitment to keep talking on chips and the war in Ukraine. Trump lauding success.
We have, it was an outstanding group of decisions, I think, that was made. A lot of decisions were made. Well, I guess on the scale from 0 to 10, with 10 being the best, I would say the meeting was a 12.
Trump's tour of Asia is now over. It's China's turn for diplomacy here. Outside, a staged welcome party of expat Chinese chanted to welcome their leader. But the people had clearly been told not to speak.
Sorry.
Interviews swiftly interrupted.
Why is it not okay? I'm only asking why they've come.
Even out here, control of the narrative is king.
There's clearly been a recognition on both sides that a degree of stabilisation was necessary. The fact there's been progress on such a wide range of issues clearly speaks to that. But there are real questions about how deep that progress runs. There are still more barriers to trade than there were at the beginning of the year. And that's not to mention the raft of deep political and structural disagreements that weren't even touched on today. For two leaders who have both staked their reputations on being strong and unyielding, there is every chance the next stumbling block could bring this all tumbling down.
Those close to China's government say all this is underpinned by a new sense of confidence. Matching strength with strength is working.
We know that situation is, of course, it's bad, it's difficult, but we also know there is a limit of power of the United States. China is more willing to take the risk because we think the foundation of the China's long-term development is in China, not out of China.
There is still a tension in this relationship and a hyper-vigilance too. That will likely last longer than anything agreed today. Helen Ann Smith, Sky News in Busan, South Korea.
With Reform UK riding high in the polls, the next big political test for Nigel Farage will come in the Scottish elections in May. Latest data suggests his party could oust Labour and the Conservatives to become the official opposition to the SNP in Scotland. Our Scotland correspondent Conor Gillis has been given rare exclusive access inside the party. This is his report.
Behind this door, a political movement that rarely lets cameras in.
Thank you all for coming along.
A meeting organised on encrypted chats at a secret location in Glasgow.
We are polling now second place.
After 10 months of asking, Reform UK gives Sky News exclusive access to see inside a party where politics comes with a pint.
There's a lot of homeless Scots that aren't getting a bed or a homeless accommodation because to suit the migrants. Nails first, I think.
What about just here? And this ex-Labour politician who quit amid claims of racism now represents Reform.
Sharia law, for instance, they're trying to bring that here. That's not something we celebrate.
Who's bringing that here?
The asylum seekers, some of the asylum seekers, the legal migrants.
They're trying to bring Sharia law?
Yes.
Where's that at?
Well, do you not have conversations in the street?
So the asylum seekers are trying to bring Sharia law to the streets of Glasgow?
Absolutely. You just have to take a walk through Glasgow city centre any given day. And I think probably the line of questioning that you have, if you're so shocked by this, you'd be even more shocked at what you find.
I'm just asking genuine questions because, you know, if councillors and elected officials are going to make those statements, surely it needs to be corroborated and substantiated.
There is stacks of evidence online.
Police say Sharia law is not being enforced. But language, once on the margins, is edging into the mainstream. Meet Fatin, past vetting and hoping to stand for Holyrood.
Would you deport anyone?
For illegal immigration, yes. Yes, put them in camps and deport them if they don't really, they shouldn't be here.
You want to set up deportation camps in the UK?
Well, why not? Other countries has done it.
Where would you set them up?
Well, that is really for the government to decide.
Well, no, you suggested it, so where would you set them up?
Yes, if it's coming from via France and whatever, it'll be in that side of the country.
So the deportation camps wouldn't be here in the UK? They'd be in France?
No, it will be in the UK because the boats are coming to us.
Are you making this up as you go along?
Making what up?
Policies on the hoof. Deportation camps.
Not really.
It's looking good, like we are not complacent.
Off script or not, these are the voices shaping a group sniffing success.
The vetting procedure that we put in place as a party is absolutely vigorous.
There's maybe a sense from some that they're making policy up on the hoof. Is that a problem that you have to tackle?
It's a problem that we're working with now.
But the Scottish First Minister isn't convinced.
I'm very concerned to hear what you've shared with me. Sharia law is not taking over Scotland, and I find the idea of deportation camps just utterly repugnant.
People who support him then, are they also repulsive?
Well, I'm simply saying I find his politics repulsive, and people have got their choices to make.
Polls are suggesting here in Scotland Nigel Farage's party could be on course to form the official opposition at the Scottish Parliament next year. And is that likely to happen?
It is remarkable that a party that in the British-wide polls was running at 6-7% in the autumn of 2023 is a serious competitor for becoming the principal opposition party at Holyrood.
Once fringe, now frontline, reform is breaking through and could rewrite Scotland's story. Conor Gillis, Sky News.
Now, it's the night sky like you've never seen it before. Astronomers have revealed a new expansive colour image of the Milky Way, which took 18 months and 400,000 supercomputers to compile. This animation compares the new high-resolution image to a previous one. It's the largest low-frequency radio colour image ever made, showing parts of the galaxy in greater detail, allowing scientists to study stars from birth to death. Amazing pictures there. This was Sky News at 10. Coming up, we'll take a first look at tomorrow's newspapers in the press preview. Tonight, we're joined by the Liverpool Echo's political editor, Liam Thorpe, and the contributing editor for The Times and The Sunday Times, Cindy Yu. Amongst the stories we'll be discussing, this on the front of The Guardian. Its headline, Andrew to be stripped of his royal titles and must move out of home. Do stay with us, we'll be right back.